or may not have seen this video.
This morning I woke up and I was like, am I depressed? And then I realized, no, I'm actually just in the luteal phase of my cycle, which means I'm more tired, more hungry, more sensitive, more in my feeling.
And reading through the comments, I realized, just like myself, a lot of us don't know that much about our cycles. Welcome back, friends. If you are new here, my name is Simone Saunders. I'm a licensed therapist in Calgary, Alberta, and this channel is all about lifestyle, wellness, and mental health. So if you have a cycle, you're in the right place. We're going to go through a menstrual cycle from front to back, what it is, how it works, how you feel, and talk about how to track your cycle if that's something that you're interested in. These are all learnings from my own personal journey. Feel free to drop down any question you have below and let's get started. So the very beginning of your cycle starts on day 1, which is the day that you bleed your period. So everyone's cycle is a little bit different. It ranges from about 21 to 35 days, with most people being within the 25 to 30 day range. For most people, they will bleed, or their menstrual phase lasts for about 3 to 7 days. For me personally, mine lasts for about 4 days. During this period, no pun intended, your hormones are at their absolute lowest, so your body is shedding its endometrium. So the things that you might be feeling is tired, moody, you might have cramps, you might have backaches, you might feel nauseous. Again, everyone's cycle is really different, so how you might feel on each day really depends on the person. I know for myself, day 1 is the absolute worst, and then by day 2 or day 3, I'm feeling golden again. The primary hormones we're going to talk about is estrogen and progesterone, and I also want to talk about serotonin because that also fluctuates throughout your cycle. So like I said, throughout the menstrual phase, all of your hormones are low during that time. So that means progesterone is low, estrogen is low, and serotonin is also low during this time. So after your bleeding phase, your menstrual phase, you go into your follicular phase. So this phase is when a lot of the hormones start jumping up again. So estrogen is increasing, you might feel energized, you might feel more focused, your libido increases, or your sex drive. Your immune system is super strong and super active and able to fight off illnesses a lot easier. This is when your egg starts to grow and mature before it gets released, so you're really at an almost all-time high at this point. Again, you're feeling creative, you're feeling energized, you're feeling sexy and confident, your skin is a lot clearer, serotonin is up there, so you are feeling good and happy. Once ovulation occurs, which typically is around 12 to 24 hours, that is the peak of the peak. You are feeling the best of the best. Those days when you just feel so good about yourself, you feel sexy, you feel energized, you feel confident, you feel focused, all of the things, that is typically around ovulation. And hormonally, it needs to happen that way because our body wants us to conceive. So if we're feeling good about ourselves naturally, then we might want to venture out, fertilize the egg. Your ovulation window is when you can get pregnant. So I know that it's a common misconception that you can get pregnant literally whenever, which is not true. Also a time to talk about Plan B and how it even works. For cycle tracking purposes, you can usually tack a few days before and after ovulation as your ovulation window. Sperm can live in your body for 3 to 5 days and up to a little bit more than that sometimes, which is why people might think they can get pregnant at different times, but the reality is that the sperm has lived in the body for a certain amount of time and happens to catch the egg during the ovulation window. How does Plan B fit into all of this? The purpose of Plan B is to delay the ovulation window. It only works during the follicular phase. And remember, because sperm can live in the body for 3 to 5 plus days, if your ovulation day is day 16 of your cycle, for argument's sake, and let's use a maximum of 5 days that the sperm can live in the body, the absolute latest that you'd be able to take Plan B and it be effective is day 10 or 11. If you take it any time after that, and the sperm has already lived in the body, you have the possibility of getting pregnant. So Plan B only works to push ovulation forward so that you don't get pregnant. It does not work to kill the sperm or anything like that, which is why a lot of people have Plan B babies. After ovulation is the most dreaded luteal phase. In the luteal phase of your cycle, which is the longest phase in your cycle and it can last up to 2 weeks, you'll notice a rapid decline in estrogen and progesterone, a rapid incline. So rapid decline in estrogen also means rapid decline in serotonin. So in your luteal phase, your body is ideally prepping for pregnancy, which is why your progesterone shoots up like that. So how you might feel is really tired, hungry, sensitive, emotional, irritable, all of the different things. You might feel really bloated. Your skin might start to break out during this time as well. One thing to note in the luteal cycle is that your immune system is a lot lower during this point in time. This is when you're more likely to catch a cold, so you want to protect yourself more, build up your immune system, take more vitamins, all of those kind of things. Take care of yourself a little bit more during that time, knowing that you're more susceptible to illness. So when you really understand the different phases that your body goes through, it can be easier to plan your life around your cycle. And I have been trying to do that as much as possible. So during my luteal phase, I personally get really tired, get really hungry. I am already a sensitive person, but I get more sensitive, I get more irritable, all of these different things. And so I try and control my environment in a way that supports my luteal phase and supports my cycle. So things like visual clutter is something that tends to overwhelm me. I try and make sure that I clean up after myself each and every time I brush my teeth, I make a meal, whatever it is. As far as work, I do own my own business, so this is a bit more of a luxury, but I try and take off anything on my docket that I need to do that isn't super mandatory. I tend to fluctuate between whether or not I want social contact or don't want social contact, so I also pay attention to those needs for myself and make sure that I'm seeing the people that I love when I can and paying attention to my social meter of when I need a timeout and I just need some alone time and some me time. I also try to go to bed earlier during those times, knowing that I need a little bit more sleep. So how can you track your cycle? The biggest thing is that your cycle tracking will not be accurate if you are on hormonal birth control. The reason why is because naturally, off of birth control, your body produces its own hormones in order to regulate you on a month-to-month basis. When you're taking hormonal birth control, it disrupts that pattern. So you may be able to track in the sense of understanding different symptoms that might go along with different days if that is fairly consistent with you on hormonal birth control. But as far as tracking with the intentions of understanding when you're ovulating, that likely won't happen because you don't actually ovulate when you're on hormonal birth control. So when you're on hormonal birth control and you have the 7 days where you either take a sugar pill or you don't take a pill at all, the bleeding that you're experiencing is not your period. That's why it's not necessarily as accurate as someone who wasn't taking hormonal birth control. In order to track, I recommend using a tracking app. I really like Flow, and that's something that I've been using. I also use it in conjunction with the app 28. 28 gives you a little bit more information just about your moods, your energy, sort of more in depth than Flow gives you. But the benefit of Flow is that you can input a lot of the different symptoms that you might be experiencing, and if you have the pro version of Flow, which you don't necessarily need, but if you have the pro version of Flow, then it can give you kind of updates of what you typically feel like during different parts of your cycle. So it gathers all of the data of you saying that you feel tired or really hungry during your luteal phase, and it presents that to you as this is how you might typically feel because this is what you've reported in the past. Being in tune with my body this way, I have found it so helpful to understand if I am just in a shitty mood out of nowhere. Is it that something happened, or is it that my hormones are acting up? And understanding what it is that I need to kind of support myself through each phase. So rather than looking at it as sort of an inconvenience or something that just happens to me monthly that I'm just so annoyed about, I just recognize it as something that is innate and something that sort of helps support my body through its different cycles. And what can I do to support myself? So instead of forcing myself to be more productive, more energized, more social, more X, Y, and Z, when my body literally doesn't really have the capacity to and it's telling me no, has helped me so much in the long run. One of the last things that I'll mention is that when you have mental health difficulties, understanding how your cycle interacts with that can also be super beneficial. I personally have ADHD, and so understanding that my baseline levels of low dopamine and high distractibility will be worse during my luteal phase, again, helps me support myself in the best way possible. So when you can understand the ways that your mental health intersects with your cycle, it allows you to just function better. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.